Good afternoon, I'm Savannah Kelly. Welcome to APTN National News. Pimicikamak Chief David Munias held a news brief Tuesday afternoon while on a site survey in his community. He visited the sewage and water plants, which are both still down. Chief David Munias says the water issues in Pimicikamak are being assessed after a recent 4-day power outage left water and plumbing systems with severe damage. He says as many as 1,350 houses could be damaged. The power outage has also caused delays in getting children back to school after winter break. The school is closed due to a major pipe burst. Chief Munias says water lines in 14 portable classrooms, in his words, have been busted in most of them as well. Chief Munias says the community needs help with power and infrastructure.
Right now we need power to the sewage plant for sure, right? We've been asking for these infrastructures are the water plants and also the sewage plants have been on life support. That's the best way I can explain it. This power outage and also the cold really damaged and basically pulled the plug on all our stuff. And so they're basically killed our infrastructure.
And today, those leaders from the provincial and federal government are in Pimicikamak to tour the community to see the damage. Our Creeson Agecoutay is there now and gives us a look into what they expect to see and hear today.
I'm Creeson Agecoutay in the Pimicikamak Cree Nation in northern Manitoba. We're here and just got off the plane at the airport where federal and First Nation and provincial leaders are gathering to do a tour of Pimicikamak to assess the damage and figure out long-term solutions to this problem here. For 110 hours, Pimicikamak was without power after a Manitoba hydro power line snapped and broke. The First Nation immediately declared a state of emergency, and community members, thousands, went south to Winnipeg and Thompson to get out of the cold. Meanwhile, back in Pimicikamak, the water pipes and water lines in the community froze as there was no power and no heat. And that caused damage to about 200 homes plus here in Pimicikamak. Now, Chief David Munias is putting a call out for plumbers and other workers here to come and do repairs to all of the infrastructure that's needed. He's also calling on Prime Minister Mark Carney to send in the military to help with infrastructure needs, including delivering water to all of the homes here. Creeson Agecoutay, Pimicikamak Cree Nation, APTN National News.
A First Nation in Northern Ontario has begun evacuating residents due to problems with its water treatment system. The Saskatchewan First Nation, located near James Bay, made the announcement in a press release this week. It says residents with medical conditions will be prioritized. The community's water treatment system is more than 30 years old and in need of a number of upgrades. The First Nation has about 2,300 residents. A Christmas Eve tragedy has led to an arrest. Saskatchewan RCMP have charged a 37-year-old man in connection with the death of an infant. On December 24th, 2025, Melfort RCMP responded to a report of an infant under 1 year old in medical distress at a residence. The infant was transported to hospital and died on December 28th. RCMP say the infant's injuries were deemed suspicious. No further details have been released. On January 3rd, an unnamed 37-year-old male was arrested and charged with second-degree murder in relation to the infant's death. RCMP say the accused and the infant were known to each other, but the relationship has not been disclosed. The accused made his first court appearance in Melfort Provincial Court on January 5th. A family member of a man who died at a shelter in downtown Whitehorse just over a year ago has launched a civil suit over his death. As Sarah Connors reports, it's the latest legal action connected to deaths at that shelter.
The stepdaughter of an Indigenous man who died at the Whitehorse Emergency Shelter is suing the Yukon government and the shelter's operator over his death. Nikita Sarinko Bailey filed a statement of claim in the Supreme Court of Yukon last month. APTN previously spoke with Sirinko Bailey about her stepfather, Leonard Capoblanc. The 56-year-old, who was a member of the Fort Nelson First Nation, fatally overdosed in a shower stall at the shelter in December of 2024. According to the lawsuit, Capoblanc entered the shower room several times the night of his death, which it argues should have alerted staff there was a heightened risk of overdose. The lawsuit alleges Capoblanc was left unattended in the shower room for about 40 minutes, despite an internal policy requiring staff to check on high-risk areas like bathrooms and shower stalls every 15 minutes. The claim also alleges no paramedics were on site the night of Capoblanc's death. Staff later found Capoblanc unresponsive, and he was pronounced dead shortly after paramedics arrived. The lawsuit argues Capoblanc's death was, quote, clearly foreseeable, and accuses the government and Connective of negligence in his death. The lawsuit is seeking punitive and monetary damages. Neither the government nor Connective have filed a statement of defense. This is the fourth lawsuit filed in recent years relating to shelter deaths, two of which were settled out of court last fall. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
A spokesperson for Connective said in an email they will not be commenting on active litigation. We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how you can continue the conversation. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read and watch our stories, visit our website at aptnnews.ca. You can find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. We need to step aside for a short break. Coming up, we look back on some of 2025's biggest stories from Treaty 8 and Treaty 11 in the Northwest Territories. Welcome back to APTN National News. The University of Winnipeg welcomed its first cohort of students into its new Indigenous language program on Monday. It's geared towards adults who know a little Anishinaabe, also known as Ojibwe, and would like to build up their fluency. The 3-year program includes immersion classes along with some land-based learning. An assistant professor says the program is about more than just the practical parts of learning a language.
A lot of our people, my family as well, that the language got cut off, so my dad didn't learn it, and every family has that similar history of where did it get cut off somewhere, maybe because of residential school, or maybe they had to move to get a job somewhere else, or so that's that we're bridging that gap.
The program is supported by a $2 million funding boost from the province. The federal government has announced the signing of the Canada-Nunavut Agreement on minority language education and second official language instruction for the 2024-25 to 2027-28 period. Under the agreement, about $8.5 million will be invested in Nunavut to support French as a minority language and French as a second language. According to the 2021 census, just under 4% of Nunavummians speak both English and French. The programs will run from preschool through post-secondary education. There's a French language school in Nunavut's capital city. The investment will be supporting that as well as providing second official language instruction and programs across the territory. According to the government of Nunavut, they are also planning on financially supporting the initiative. The Inuit Broadcasting Corporation has announced the launch of a new program to get Inuit youth into the production side of film and television. The Tugulavut program is a partnership between IBC, the Canadian Northern Economic Development Agency, and the Canada Council for the Arts to support more Inuit storytellers, editors, technicians, and producers. The first year of this 3-year program has been funded with an investment of $410,000. This year will see 20 youth take part in 6 learning modules over 6 weeks. Applications are still being accepted by IBC. The program will focus on hands-on learning for the various jobs involved in behind-the-scenes production. Students will be expected to build their personal portfolios, including their own short film project.
We'll have short film program there where they learn pre-production to post-production and production. Just I think that's the fastest and easiest way to learn how the production works is having to work on your own project.
So we're planning to have guest speakers from the industry, planning to involve as many people as we can from the industry to provide a hands-on approach and let people feel what it's really like to be on a television set.
One of the North's oldest and most well-respected hand games players died last month. As Sarah Connors tells us, the beloved stick gambler leaves behind a long legacy that won't be forgotten.
Wherever there was hand games, you could be sure to spot Amos Dick. Perhaps better known as Famous Amos, the beloved Casca elder from Ross River was a staple of the Yukon's hand game circuit, playing in tournaments across the territory and beyond. The legendary stick gambler played right up until the very end. He died last month.
So many people started playing hand games because of him. It's going to be missed, so much here, especially in our community, but all over the place,
Dick was likely in his 90s, though no one we spoke to could say for sure exactly how old he was. He told us in 2018 he'd been playing hand games for 75 years.
I say 1940, but 16 years old.
Beyond hand games, the old-timer was an expert hunter and worked as an outfitting guide for close to 30 years. Those who knew him say no one knew the land better than him.
And there's not one place in our Casca homeland that he has a footprint.
Dick was also a big believer in passing on traditional knowledge. He taught many young people how to skin hides and make drums, tools, and snowshoes.
He was a legend, and he brought a lot of pride within the youth to learn hand games and to really honor the traditional ways.
Those traditional ways stayed with him until his final days. While laying unresponsive in the hospital, drummers played cultural songs, ending with challenge songs.
The drums would be going. He'd get up. You wanted to get up. And stick gamble.
His loved ones say his death is a big loss for the Yukon's hand games community. For her son, hand games just won't be the same without him.
That's the kind of person we've been living with, and it's going to be really missed.
But as long as the drums keep beating, Famous Amos will always be remembered.
I'm getting old.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Now to Treaty 8 and Treaty 11 in the Northwest Territories. Our reporter Charlotte Morit-Jacobs looks back on a year that saw political change and community-led solutions and stories centered around accountability and resilience. Here's that report.
Across Denonday, APTN brought you stories of trials and triumphs, including on-the-land programming, which promoted physical and spiritual well-being through traditional practices and teachings.
I think being on the land is one of the best things that you can do for people to get out and reconnect with nature.
In politics, longtime Liberal MP Michael McLeod passed the torch to former Yellowknife City Mayor Rebecca Alty, who not only won the NWT riding, but was named Canada's newest Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations. Highlighting Northern connections, APTN's Dennis Ward spoke with Prime Minister Mark Carney while he returned to his early beginnings in Thabatcha, Fort Smith.
You have 2 nations or so that are supportive of it, but you have about 7 or 9 that are around there now that have filed legal challenges against this legislation.
In health, many Indigenous families in remote communities still had to leave their homes to deliver babies. But this year, the Deitcho First Nations responded to a lack of resources by hosting workshops to empower and revive cultural practices around birthing.
It would be amazing to not have to leave home and have somebody here that could deliver babies, or even a midwife. The whole midwife workshop was amazing to listen into.
Across the NWT, the ramifications from a steadily growing and sometimes fatal drug crisis dominated the news cycle. In May, Dene leaders called an emergency meeting on the topic.
And money talks for a lot of people, and especially when the drug dealers, they know that, and they want to have control and to use our people.
And by the fall, communities took matters into their own hands. The Katlodeche First Nation, who banned more than a dozen individuals from coming onto the reserve, and Delenegotne government and Fort Good Hope Band, who took hired sniffer dogs to search cargo and passenger planes for substances and dangerous goods on planes bound from Yellowknife into the Saw-2.
We wanted to act, and I think this was like the first step that we found that would be impactful.
The NWT saw only 2 communities evacuated from wildfire, a somewhat reprieve from years past. Enjoying the slightly less smoky summer, APTN looked at food security by touring the North Slave Métis Alliance's community garden.
We have a cultural gathering place at Old Fort Ray, and there are signs of people planting things that have stood the test of time.
In August, 7 unmarked burials were found at the site of the St. Joseph's Indian Residential School, operated by the Catholic Church in Fort Resolution. Investigation began in 2022, with Denenequay First Nation hiring an archaeology team after inquiries of the fate of 75 children who attended there were raised. In mining news, co-run by the feds and territorial government, the giant mine remediation project in Yellowknife saw the near completion of a water treatment plant to handle arsenic-contaminated water from the mine's underground workings, as well as a 10-year economic benefits agreement for the Cleancho government for training.
The mining industry could work in our favor.
And in light of economic challenges for the NWT diamond sector, Indigenous leaders emphasized the need for partnerships in all up-and-coming infrastructure and resource projects.
We gotta come to an understanding and an agreement on lands and resources and governance. That's the foundation, so we can move forward together.
In October, an Auditor General gave a failing grade to the governing body for housing in the NWT, citing they had been unsuccessful in fixing the housing crisis. The territorial government accepted all findings and recommendations, and there was some wins, including upgrading housing stock in various regions and successfully contracting transitional housing and shelter programs.
But I don't have a house in my own hometown.
Rounding out 2025, APTN learned about how those with lived experience will guide the work being done by Indigenous NGOs in 2026.
Can learn how to build our own homes again. We will need to know how to use the heating system, the energy system, the water system, how to take care of that home, because we've built it. And because we've built it, we have pride.
Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
We now want to tell you about this week's web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, did you make a New Year's resolution? Yes or no? Go to our website at aptnnews.ca to have your say. We need to take one more quick break. Still to come, we'll take you behind the scenes on an upcoming horror movie that just wrapped filming in Winnipeg. Stay with us. Starting on the East Coast, +1 for Charlottetown, +3 in Halifax. Nain, -15 in Sunshine there, -17 for Kuujjuaq. Val-d'Or, -5, snowy and -3 for Montreal. Sault Ste. Marie, -1 and snowy, North Bay, -4. Sudbury, -2 there, Kapuskasing, -5. Churchill, sunshine, -25, Thompson, -15. Dauphin, sunny and -6, Winnipeg, -7. Yorkton, sunny, -12 there, Saskatoon, -16. Stony Rapids, -16 and sunny there, same for Uranium City. Sunny and -22 for Fort Chip and High Level. Calgary, -3 and sunny there, Medicine Hat, 0 degrees. Vancouver, 5 degrees there, Canal, -2. Prince George, -3, Dease Lake, sunny and -14. Whitehorse minus 21 and sunny, Mayo minus 31. Fort Simpson minus 26 and sunny, Wati minus 26 as well. Paulatuck sunny minus 33, Colville Lake minus 42. Baker Lake minus 33 and sunny, Nauyat minus 17. Iqaluit sunny and minus 16 there, Clyde River minus 17. A new horror movie starring Indigenous actors just wrapped up filming in Winnipeg. Based off of the director's lived experience with intergenerational trauma, it follows one woman's fight with her inner demons and the real monster that haunts her. Sav Jonesa brings us the sneak peek of Ancestral Beasts.
Main character Elise is on her way to confront intergenerational trauma and the monster that it takes form in this scene of upcoming feature film Ancestral Beasts. Red River Métis director and producer Tim Riedel wrote the story based on his experience as the son of a 60s scoop survivor struggling with mental illness.
This film's theme is the curses that we inherit are not our fault, but what we let them become is our responsibility. And I hope people who see the film leave thinking about how that theme has existed in their own individual lives.
Co-leading the film are The Order's Morgan Holstrom and Little Bird's Darla Contois. It follows Holstrom's character, a Red River Métis woman who, after a mental breakdown, tries to heal her trauma by journeying back to her ancestral home, only for a demon to haunt her and threaten her loved ones. Riedel says the demon is an allegory for severe mental illness. He hopes the film reminds viewers to be compassionate to those struggling with disorders like borderline personality.
It's not easy for people to navigate these complex institutions and systems when they're suffering from a severe mental health disorder, yet they need the help the most. So that's why it's important to tell the story in a way that people pay attention to.
The film's cast is almost entirely Indigenous and was shot in Winnipeg, the homeland of the Red River Métis. Riedel says the location was non-negotiable.
Living out east now, it's more inconvenient for me to be away for a long time from my wife and my children and whatnot. But whenever I'm here on these lands, I'm home, and so I couldn't think of telling a story anywhere else but here.
A turning point in his career comprised mostly of documentaries. Ancestral Beasts is Riedel's first horror flick, but his innate desire to bring truth to his work persisted. Riedel consulted elders, cultural advisors, and Indigenous psychologists during the film's development so that the story could be told in a respectful way.
To me, it doesn't seem much different from my documentary work, except for instead of me turning the lens on people from cultures and communities outside of my own, I'm turning the lens inward on myself and my community.
Ancestral Beasts just finished shooting and is headed into post-production. A release date has yet to be announced, but Riedel says the film will travel to remote Indigenous communities so they can get the first look, or scare. Sav Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
And that's all the time we have for your afternoon news this Wednesday. I'm Savannah Kelly. Thank you for joining us. I'll be back at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central for your full look at the day's news. See you then.